Stop being a sensitive snowflake. No one thinks it's cute when you're triggered, and in that state, you have the capacity to atom bomb all of your relationships. The number one thing we're taught in engineering is problem solving. If you want to work through your personal triggers, you have to be able to look at yourself and say, what is the source of this trigger and how might we learn to work through it? You can do a lot of ancillary things, but if you're not working to solve the root source of the problem, it's never going to resolve itself. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, An Engineer's Guide to Life Advice and how we can use systems-based thinking to become the woman of our dreams. If that sounds like fun to you, definitely subscribe for more videos to follow. Today we're going to learn how to identify and work past your triggers so you can evolve into a better version of yourself. Number one is to let go any resentment that you're holding for your triggers. Being triggered is actually a blessing. It shows you that you have an area in your life where you have unhealed pain, where you need to focus on with your inner work. Anytime we feel triggered, what we're talking about is that we're having an emotional experience in our body that we don't feel like we're in control of. We feel that our emotions are holding the rails of our body, and in the actual act of being triggered, we often can't think very clearly or in our best interest. After the trigger is passed, get your journal out and think about what triggered you, why you found it so emotionally painful or emotionally charging, what could have happened that caused that reaction in your body. It's not always simple to identify the root cause for a trigger. It could be as simple as someone hurt you, in the past you had a traumatic experience and now you have a bit of a wound here emotionally in your soul that you need to work through. Or it could be something as far back as your childhood. Start the marination process on why this trigger might exist and how deep it might be, because understanding how deep the trigger might be will give you a better understanding of the tools that can help you work through it. If something is a more recent wound, wasn't all that traumatic, you won't need to do a lot more inner work to work past it and evolve past that trigger. If something really scarring happened in your childhood or in the context of romantic relationships, it could have a really detrimental effect on your psyche, and you could need more intensive tools to work through that. So I had a really blessed childhood. I have two wonderful parents who I love deeply. They're, as an adult, some of my closest friends, on top of being, the source of parental wisdom in my life. I don't feel that I had any experiences that would have caused me to have an anxious attachment style in a relationship as far back as my childhood. As an adult, I do find that in relationships, I'm more anxious than I would like to be, and I exhibit some signs of having an anxious attachment style. Because I've done enough inner work and self-reflection to know that I have an anxious attachment style, I've started to look at why that might be, and the cause of that is actually a painful relationship a few years ago, not something as deeply embedded as my childhood. Knowing that there's a specific relationship and there are specific things that happened in that relationship to cause me to feel anxious, to cause me to have a harder time trusting people, it makes it easier to work through. The number one thing we're taught in engineering is problem solving. We are taught how to solve incredibly complex technical problems. Identifying the source of problems will help you to solve them quickly. Because if you don't know why a problem is occurring, there's no way that you're gonna be able to solve it. If you wanna work through your personal triggers, you have to be able to look at yourself and say, where does this trigger come from? What is the source of this trigger? What is the severity of this trigger? And how might we learn to work through it? Because you can do a lot of ancillary things, but if you're not working to solve the root source of the problem, it's never gonna resolve itself. Something else that'll help you identify the severity of the trigger is to what extent is it affecting your physical body. In your state of feeling triggered, think about how you physiologically react. I know in my triggered state, the first thing to suffer is my sleep patterns. I have trouble sleeping, I break out, I feel like I'm overeating. There are direct signs in how my body is reacting that there's some kind of turmoil going on in my emotional body. For some people, feeling triggered could just mean that they feel upset for a few hours. And for some people, it could mean that their system is stressed out to the max for days on end. Understand the severity of which being triggered affects your mental state and your well-being, and seek the help that is most applicable based on your level of stress and anxiety and triggeredness. It could be that you need the help of a professional like a life coach or a therapist to give you tools to work through that, or it could be that you just need to spend some time in your journal talking to friends and family to open up and move past this. Not everyone needs a full-blown intervention to stop being a snowflake. You could just need to do a little bit of reflection. Really do look at yourself authentically and be honest if you need more help than you can just give yourself. It's really important to acknowledge that you can't fix your own thinking with your thinking. When you're trying to be less triggered, it is so helpful to have someone else's input and someone else's view on the subject, because other people see things that you don't see. A lot of the times when we're feeling really emotional, we're not thinking clearly. My brain is just not functioning on all cylinders. So having someone to talk to, like my mom or a therapist who has a different perspective than me, really helps me to move past it more quickly, because they give you different tools and perspective than you have on your own. You're not an island, that there are other people helping you, and you're not alone in working through these things. Everyone gets triggered about something. Next, we need a game plan for when it happens again. You will be triggered in the future. The universe will bring things into your field that will cause you to be really emotional again. We're kind of preparing for the event before it happens so that when we feel triggered, we're more apt to act in our best self. When I feel triggered, I know that my phone is like a direct conduit for my anxious emotions to go out through all of my relationships. Be off technology as much as possible. That's how I create space to work through my emotions on my own, so they're not infecting my other relationships. Some people create space for their emotions through journaling. Some people find that in a therapist or talking to a good friend or working out. You need some kind of avenue to help you work through that scenario. There's always a space between the stimulus and our reaction. You may not be aware of that space, but there's always a choice that we have to make when something comes into our field, how we're going to react to it. The more you can expand the space between the stimulus and your reaction, the more control you're going to have over your own actions. So it's not so much about controlling your emotions, it's about creating a system where you have space and safety to work through something before you respond to it. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is to stop being afraid of being triggered and be receptive to opportunities for you to be more triggered. In psychology, I believe what they call this is exposure therapy. You want to be able to expose yourself to the stimulus of being triggered as often as possible, because you're training your nervous system to act towards it differently. When we're trying to learn how to act in a different way to stimulus, we have to train our emotional and physical body to act differently. And changes in the body don't happen overnight. If you're going to the gym, it takes time to build up a muscle in order for you to see results. It also takes time to build up your emotional capacity before you see changes in how you act and how you feel. You can't hide from any experiences that make you feel triggered, because then you'll never grow. You'll never move past them, and you'll never expand your capacity to be more resilient. I want you to feel brave to go face your triggers and to learn how to get better at managing them. Allow yourself to grow and realize that working through your emotions and becoming more emotionally intelligent is like going to the gym. It's a muscle that you need to grow and work with. There'll be growing pains, and there'll also be a time frame that you'll have to work with. Change doesn't happen instantly, and some of the biggest changes can actually take a really long time to manifest. The final thing that I want you guys to do is to just be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself today, and be kind to your past self who got super triggered over something stupid. It can be really easy to look back at how we've acted and resent how we've acted and feel bad about ourselves and know that we weren't our best selves, but that doesn't get us anywhere. I like to talk a lot about our inner child, because even as adults, we have a small fragile part of us inside that's really delicate and deserves love and needs to be cared for. So when I look back at how past Emily has acted, she was always trying the best in that moment with the tools that she had. Even today, I'm trying my best with the tools I have to act as the woman that I want to be. Being mean to yourself about how you're acting doesn't help you to grow faster. It actually stunts your growth. Give yourself the space and the time to evolve and I'm so excited to see the person you become, and I know before long you'll be able to walk through life without feeling triggered by every little thing that comes into your field. My camera almost fell down. That was scary. What do we think about this top today? I have decided it's spring. I don't know if technically it's spring, but I don't really care because I'm ready to wear white, pastels, and linen, but I will suck it up and be cold if that means I get to wear a cute outfit. Okay guys, I hope that you found that helpful. I know that there's always something that I'm working through, and I'm hoping that talking more about your triggers helps you to feel more emotionally intelligent and in control. If you have any tips on how to be less triggered, definitely put them in the comment section below. And if you're not subscribed, please do so and join our community of like-minded women who are growing to be the woman of their dreams. Have a great day, guys, and remember that your triggers are a gift.